Well, for more on this, I'm now joined by climate specialist Durwood Zaelke. He joins us live in Washington. So, first of all, how much more evidence really is needed that there is a climate crisis happening and it's affecting all of us?
We have all the evidence, all the painful evidence that we need to understand it is too hot. And it's time that we learn how to turn the temperature down. It's time we get the leaders of the world to have the courage to wrestle with the fossil fuel industry and the others who put climate pollutants into the atmosphere, leading to the heat waves, leading to the heat deaths, leading to the wildfires. I mean, this is going to be a preview. This is the hottest year in the history of record keeping, but it's also the coolest year we're going to ever see in the future.
I mean, we can look at governments and, of course, the action has got to come from them, but could it be a case that they don't actually know what to do?
Oh, they have known what to do for a very long time. I mean, we have the technologies, we have the funding in most cases. Let's take methane as an example. Methane is responsible for a third to a half of current warming. Methane is the main component, 90% of natural gas or fossil gas. We can cut methane pollution by stopping the leaks of methane. Stop wasting natural gas that people are using as a fuel. If you do that, you turn the temperature down faster than any other way. You can avoid 0.3 degrees Celsius in the next 10, 15, 20 years. That is the single biggest bite out of future warming. So that's just one example. Don't destroy our forest. Forests pull CO2 out of the atmosphere. The other main climate pollutant, store it safely in their biomass and in the soil. You know, we know what to do. That's no longer an excuse.
But presumably the financial implications of not doing anything or not doing enough are really immeasurable.
Well, I mean, we're seeing just the beginning because we're pushing the planet to the point where it starts to warm itself. And these self-amplifying feedbacks will push us past irreversible tipping points very, very soon. There are 11 of these tipping points between the current 1.5 degrees that we're experiencing the last 12 months and the 2 degrees we're going to experience in the next 10 to 20 years. So it's time to turn on the speed. It's time for the young people to accelerate their demands of the old guard who are still thinking that they can somehow reach an accommodation with fossil fuels. We got to get out of fossil fuels. I mean, we've got to get out of the attitude that the fossil fuel industry is still essential. They are not. Let's move on to renewables. Let's move on to plugging methane leaks. Let's save our forest. Let's learn to make our air conditioners super efficient so we can have more air conditioning for the people who need it, but not using the kind of refrigerants like HFCs that cause still more warming. We know what to do.
You mentioned there about young people taking action, but actually we're seeing pockets of activism by people of all ages. How much of a difference do you think this is making in the big scheme of things, of driving awareness of this entire issue beyond the impact that it's having for so many countries around the world now?
Well, one would think that these impacts, as they affect literally the entire world, will educate people enough to demand that their leaders take the decisive action that we need. And you're right, it's the Swiss grandmothers bringing litigation successfully to say Switzerland needs to do more on climate. It's the young people in Fridays for the Future. It's the people in the Extinction Rebellion who are so angry that they are gluing themselves to the doors of the big banks that are still funding fossil fuels and ruining their future. So, you know, it is all ages, but the young people have the energy, the spirit, to fight the hardest, I think. But maybe, you know, my generation, the older generation, will live up to the challenge as well.
Climate specialist Durwood Zaelke, thank you very much for joining us live from Washington.
My pleasure.